Today on Investigate TV Plus, an unwelcome arrival from space.
I had no idea what it was. It's definitely nothing that looks like it's from Earth.
And experts warn it could be just the beginning. We get insight into solutions that could prevent a cascade of collisions in space and here on Earth.
Then turning toxic industrial ruins into urban playgrounds.
In some ways, it's a reminder to the folks of what was here in the past.
How a major U.S. city is merging environmental restoration with historical preservation.
Plus, a 79-year-old proves age is just a number when you have 500 horses under the hood.
When they see this white hair and that white car and this crazy old lady, and they just go nuts.
Meet Annie, the hot rod granny, who isn't just breaking stereotypes, but smoking them.
In-depth stories that inform and inspire. You're watching Investigate TV Plus. It's one of science's greatest mysteries. Is space truly limitless? I'm Lee Zurich.
And I'm Tisha Powell. While that question has been debated for centuries, there's no doubt about one thing. Human activity is clogging it up. There's everything from tiny spacecraft bolts to defunct satellites, and even a red Tesla Roadster mounted to a rocket stage sent into orbit by SpaceX owner Elon Musk. It once floated so close to Earth it was mistaken for a potential asteroid. Experts say the space industry's rapid growth has filled the Earth's orbit with thousands of pieces of trackable space debris and millions more that are too small to monitor.
The problem is only getting worse. According to data from the United Nations Office for Outer Space Affairs, a decade ago, just a couple hundred objects were launched into space each year. In 2024, we launched nearly 3,000.
That same year, a piece of space debris from the International Space Station crashed through a Florida home, highlighting how fast-moving orbital debris can pose a significant threat to satellites, spacecraft, and our lives here on the ground.
As reporter Heather Graff explains, more close calls are crashing to Earth.
So it's a 360 view all the way around.
Here in the North Carolina mountains, not far from Asheville, sits a private luxury camping retreat.
And it's very remote up here.
Kind of tucked away in the mountains.
Tucked away in the mountains, very quiet, peaceful.
Peaceful. Until one morning in May 2024.
It just fell right through the trees, right onto the trail.
When Justin Klontz, a groundskeeper at the Glamping Collective, made an out-of-this-world discovery.
I had no idea what it was. It's definitely nothing that looks like it's from Earth.
And it turns out he's right. This is what scientists call space debris, any non-functional human-made object that remains in Earth's orbit for extended periods of time.
They can be old dead satellites or rocket stages that put the satellites up there that are abandoned, or pieces of exploded rocket or smashed satellite.
Jonathan McDowell, an astrophysicist at the Harvard-Smithsonian Center for Astrophysics, says there's a lot of it in the solar system.
We're tracking over 20,000 pieces orbiting the Earth, so it's really crowded out there now.
But there's an increasing problem. It doesn't all stay out there. While space debris usually burns up on re-entry into the atmosphere, larger pieces can reach the Earth's surface.
We've seen a number of cases in the past few years where large chunks of spacecraft have crashed into the ground.
And McDowell says those chunks could be falling more often.
The increase in space activity has been tremendous over the past few years. There has been an increase in space debris along with this.
According to the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, between 200 to 400 tracked objects enter our atmosphere every year.
It's just bizarre looking.
Including this piece of space waste.
It's about 90 pounds and it's awkward to handle.
NASA has confirmed the debris came from the trunk of a SpaceX Crew Dragon spacecraft. McDowell was tracking it as it re-entered over North Carolina.
And I was able to plot the path of the trunk and show that the pieces that had been found were found at exactly the right place and time to be consistent with this particular SpaceX spaceship that had fallen out of the sky.
The ship's trunk carries unpressurized cargo and supports the spacecraft during ascent. It's a disposable component jettisoned shortly before re-entry and designed to disintegrate. According to NASA, since 2022, debris from at least 5 Dragon trunks have been found in various parts of the world. No known injuries have resulted from space debris, and the odds of that are very low. Even so, McDowell says they're not zero.
If a big chunk of space debris were to hit someone, that could easily be fatal. If a big chunk of space debris hit an airliner in flight, you could get mass casualties.
NASA declined to speak on camera, but provided a statement saying in part, during its initial design, the Dragon spacecraft trunk was evaluated for re-entry breakup and was predicted to burn up fully. NASA and SpaceX will continue exploring additional solutions as we learn from the discovered debris.
As the space industry continues to grow, will the issue of space debris continue to grow as well?
Yes, and it'll get worse because they still have not come up with any way to reverse the process.
Former NASA scientist Donald Kessler established the space agency's Orbital Debris Program Office in 1979. He says what he's seen since then is extremely concerning.
Anytime you put something else in space, you're vulnerable.
With that principle in mind, Kessler developed a global space debris phenomenon during his time at NASA that continues to worry scientists today. The Kessler syndrome is a hypothetical scenario in which a chain reaction of space debris collisions makes Earth's orbit too dangerous to operate in.
Well, you got these things in orbit that are running into each other, and as long as we keep feeding the source of this, which is i.e. put more stuff in orbit, it will continue to get worse.
Experts say it's a difficult problem to tackle.
How fast is this stuff traveling in space?
It's at kilometers per second, faster than anything on Earth.
And one that requires international cooperation. To that end, countries around the world have been collaborating on cleanup and mitigation efforts.
People have tried rendezvousing with them and let's try putting a net around them, or even harpooning them, or using a robot arm to go up and grab them out of space. And so we're at the stage now where the technology is being tested out. People are trying different things, but we're not really ready to do it operationally.
NASA supported a British-led research mission called Remove Debris, which tested some of these innovations in low orbit between 2018 and 2019. And the world's first space debris removal mission has been commissioned by the European Space Agency and is expected to launch in 2028.
As we industrialize space, we have to be more responsible about disposing safely of surplus space equipment.
Because, McDowell adds, as industrialization increases,
You're just lucky nobody was walking through there.
so does the risk.
Were you like, this could have been bad?
It could have been bad, but, it just happened to fall at the right time.
The right time, and in these remote mountains of North Carolina, perhaps the right place.
In an effort to better manage space debris caused by the Dragon's trunk section, NASA and SpaceX have moved the spacecraft splashdowns from Florida to the West Coast. NASA says this will help ensure the trunk lands safely in the open ocean. SpaceX representatives did not respond to our repeated requests for comment.
As some programs work to address falling space debris, there's an effort underway to preserve the earthbound history of our journey to the stars.
You can see across the landscape, you can see these craters. That makes people really connect with the resource. It really makes people connect with the history.
Coming up, we traveled to the testing sites that helped America reach the moon to see how restoring the land could inspire the next generation of astronauts.
But first, rusted towers emerge like art installations.
Places like this show us possibility.
We dig deep into a controversial decision to turn contaminated land into a popular park. Our in-depth coverage continues. You can get connected to Investigate TV Plus on all social media platforms.
You may have them in your city, testaments of the industrial age, old buildings or structures that have sat abandoned for decades.
Instead of leveling the past, cities nationwide are choosing to repurpose the remnants, but the plans can get complicated.
Reporter Josie Sturman takes us to Seattle, Washington, to see how they're working to turn a toxic site into a vibrant space that can be enjoyed for generations to come.
When you think Seattle, you think Space Needle, seaplanes, and Starbucks. But there's another part of the city's story that's just as central.
In some ways, it's a reminder to the folks of what was here in the past.
What was still is, at least on the shores of Lake Union, where echoes of the Emerald City's past cast coffee-colored shadows. These dark towers stand in the heart of the city, monuments of an industrial boom that literally brought light to Seattle. For decades, they were used as part of a gasification plant, burning coal to create gas that illuminated the city.
There's always folks who are like, why don't you get rid of those old towers?
But instead of tearing down these rusted remnants, city leaders sought a cleaner future in what is now known as Gasworks Park.
You know, there's a certain, attraction to be able to reuse it and, use these artifacts and kind of tell a story of what was here before.
It's a complicated tale. It started when the plant shut down and the city bought the land in the 1960s for use as a park.
Places like this show us possibility.
As the chair of urban design and planning at the University of Washington, Brandon Bourne knows the only barrier to change is imagination. He says the founder of the landscape architecture program at UW had it, proposing that instead of raising the plant, the city should put down roots and focus on cleaning and greening the space while also honoring the site's legacy.
When we sweep aside the history of a place, we lose the magic and significance of that place, and we make it kind of like anywhere.
But there's nothing like this pretty much anywhere, from the giant slope of the manufactured Kite Hill to the pipework purposefully colored to encourage play.
It took some doing, and it took a lot of visioning and a lot of community meetings to move people away from the very standard understanding of we need to scrape this site clean to we can work with what we have here and think about the structures and the history.
These industrial skeletons aren't the only things left behind in this park. Something else a lot less appealing is also part of the lingering history here. Toxic contaminants that haven't been completely cleaned up yet. Tell us, what kind of hazards existed at this site? What made it dangerous at one point?
Well, there were a lot of byproducts from coal gasification. A lot of that is petroleum hydrocarbon type things.
To put it simply, those things were hazardous toxins from the plant that tainted the soil and water. Back in the mid-90s, Amber Wong worked for the Environmental Protection Agency and started the push to clean the park. Almost 40 years later, she's retired, but the work's still ongoing.
Do you think people realize what the history of this place is and that there was a danger that they had to mitigate and are still mitigating?
No, nobody knows about this. I mean, it's one of the amazing things to me because people love this park. It's kind of ironic because you've got these structures that are clearly industrial and people just don't think about it, I bet.
Some even as they step by the not-so-subtle reminders, signs that point out the park's toxic past, especially along the waterfront, is still very much a current problem.
It's a bit like a twister board of contamination. It's not consistent throughout. Some areas are clean, some areas have contamination.
The effort still has a few more years to go, with a few select areas still being remediated. Project leaders say the risk, even in those spots, remains low, with millions spent to make sure the park is a safe space in the city center.
This is not a place where people live. For the way that it was remediated, this is a perfect use, or this is a perfect use given that type of remediation. They were married together.
A marriage of past and present, manufacturing that's been made fit for man, from the inside out.
I can see why that could be controversial to some, but I love it. I like it. It's unique, it's different, and it's definitely memorable.
I just thought as people were sitting there that it would be a cool place to take pictures and just kind of hang out.
Just check out all the scenery, right?
While people in Seattle can marvel at the beauty of Gasworks Park, Atlanta and New York have both used relics of their industrial past to support their city's future growth.
In Atlanta, the Beltline transformed neglected railroad tracks into a 22-mile walking loop that connects dozens of neighborhoods, businesses, and public spaces. While in New York City, the High Line was once destined for demolition, but the community rallied together to repurpose the old elevated tracks into a nearly 1.5-mile-long greenway and public park.
Still to come, bringing new life to a decades-old lunar training site. We'll show you what it takes to restore a key piece of America's space exploration history.
Then see how a cross-country adventure in a classic Cadillac led a former children's book author to become a burnout champion.
You can watch Investigate TV Plus anytime, streaming online. Get the app for Roku, Amazon Fire TV, and Apple TV. They're free to download.
The surface appears to be very fine-grained as you get close to it.
Walking on the moon, it's a feat only 12 humans have accomplished, all of them Americans who trained in Arizona.
The otherworldly landscape brought NASA specifically to Flagstaff, where several years before the first moon landing in 1969, they built a training ground to simulate the lunar surface. While the test site has sat empty for 6 decades, there's a plan to restore it.
Reporter Mason Carroll shows us how.
Every astronaut who went to the moon did train in Flagstaff, and so we played this integral role in that effort.
Flagstaff is surrounded by volcanic rock. One particularly heavy volcanic area is Sunset Crater east of town. That's where scientists in the 60s saw an opportunity.
You know, this whole area, the San Francisco volcanic field, there's a lot of different volcanic features that are great analogs to what they expect to find on the moon. It's a great place to really hone your skills with geology.
And in the late 60s, they used explosive to create these moon-like craters, over 140 of them.
It's different than a rock impacting from space, but the result's kind of the same, where these centers blew up and came down, and you have craters that are left over.
They used the field until the late 70s, and it stayed mostly untouched since.
Even then, people understood how important it was to keep this for posterity and to educate people about the astronaut training as part of the moon mission.
The Forest Service is working to restore the site to what the original training field looked like, removing decades worth of brush and trees. With the goal to give people a true glimpse into the training ground of astronauts.
And it looks the way it does now. It's been restored. You can see across the landscape. You can see these craters. That makes people really connect with the resource. It really makes people connect with the history.
The U.S. Forest Service plans to work with Wood for Life, an initiative by the National Forest Foundation to give the extra wood collected from clearing the training site to indigenous communities who can use the timber to help heat homes.
Flagstaff isn't just for aspiring astronauts, but astronomers as well. It's home to the Lowell Observatory, which has connected people to the stars for more than a century.
That's one of the missions for Lowell Observatory, is really to make the public co-discoverers in science, to reach out and, share the wonder of astronomy and science with as many people as possible.
In 1930, astronomers used the telescope at the observatory to capture the first images of Pluto. Lowell researchers also played a role in protecting dark skies. In the 1950s, they helped Flagstaff's council create an ordinance to limit the use of light. For decades, the city stayed committed to dimming light pollution. And in 2001, Flagstaff became the world's first dark sky city. Now there's more than 200 designated dark sky places in 22 countries. Up next, from trucking across America to burning rubber in competitions.
My mom was always the coolest mom in the neighborhood.
Meet the 79-year-old who's redefining what it means to be a cool mom.
You can watch Investigate TV Plus anytime online. Just subscribe to our YouTube channel at Investigate TV. You can catch stories and full episodes. Taking a cross-country road trip, it can be a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. And a 79-year-old woman from Illinois got to knock it off her bucket list in style.
Reporter Steve Harris explains how her adventure sparked a new passion.
79-year-old Annie Kaler's life is like a great Hollywood script.
I did truck driving, had some luck with music in Nashville.
She also wrote and illustrated this book.
Yes, I've done a lot of stuff.
Truck driver, artist, author, musician, Annie's done a lot of things, but what she's known for around here are her wheels. Or what's left of them. More on that later.
My mom was always the coolest mom in the neighborhood.
Her son Jamie Hutchins owns a racing engine shop in Bethalto. That's where he built this 1957 Cadillac as a gift for his mom.
And I liked it the moment I saw it.
Yeah, she goes everywhere in it.
And the 57 Caddy was ready for a road trip.
I normally don't do anything like that.
A mother-son road trip across the country.
4,200 miles in 9 days, windows down, 85, 90 miles an hour, and 400 gallons of gas.
All the way to Santa Monica.
It was a long road trip, and it was a lot of fun.
But the story doesn't end there. Remember that tire?
It will smoke the tires.
That's Annie in her 57 Caddy, holding the brake and gas pedal to the floor, winning her first burnout competition. Then she won a second one, earning her the nickname Annie the Hot Rod Granny.
And when they see this white hair and that white car and this crazy old lady, and they just go nuts.
So what's next for Hot Rod Granny? Wherever around 500 horses and 4 new tires will take her.
That's it for us on Investigate TV Plus. I'm T. Chappelle.
And I'm Lee Zurich. Thanks for watching.
On the next Investigate TV Plus, nursing home residents and their families say short staffing puts their well-being at risk.
They put her through so much hell, especially the last week of her life.
We examine what some call a staffing crisis and reveal a potential solution with mixed reactions.